We have a new section on the show. It's called Children's News. News of the children. Adult children. Journalists this week erupted in boisterous cheers when the White House press secretary Jen Psaki announced that the gulags will be run by a woman of colour. The announcement came as a result of an unscripted moment when a reporter relayed to Psaki a question from a concerned citizen back home. What is President Biden doing for my small business? She didn't miss a beat, showing how clearly prepared she was for such hard-hitting questions for a child. First and foremost, Biden nominated a woman of colour to run the forced labour camps, what many experts in this administration are referring to affectionately as the gulags. The journalists began hooting, hollering, clapping, and erupting into chants when Psaki's announcement dropped that dissidents and undesirables accused of wrongthink would be sent to forced labour camps run by a woman of colour. At publishing time, children being kept in immigration detention centres were reportedly glad to hear the news that ICE may be folded into the progressive new Gulag system. Well, that was reported by SOTT Group. And they all think that's funny. Imagine if Trump had stated that. The fake white supremacist narrative would have been rolled out across America and onto the joined-at-the-hip psychotic twin called the BBC. I guess my theory of most people on this planet are childlike in their actions, engagements, thinking and speaking is borne out to be true. And it's high time we adult-thinking adults were put in charge, not adults masquerading as infants. A US president is banned from social media. A long-time national science reporter resigns in disgrace after repeating a racial slur. A school district dropped the names of famous Americans from its buildings. A congresswoman is punished for spreading conspiracy theories. Each one of these episodes has been cited as evidence of a cancel culture. And the idea that zealous activists, mostly on the left of what? Are seeking to suppress disfavoured free expression by permanently shaming and ostracising individuals who have been deemed to have transgressed. And just last week, Donald Trump's legal team derided his impeachment trial as a constitutional cancel culture. This week, Disney severed ties with the actress Gina Carano, who portrays a popular character in the Star Wars series The Mandalorian, reportedly because of inflammatory social media posts on mask wearing and the US election. The national media, or the portal people, seems to have a steady supply of new sources of righteous outrage for both sides of the cancel culture debate. And the consequences of being cancelled include the loss of friends and social connections, the termination of employment or business opportunities, or the denial of a platform for which to share their provocative views. And sometimes the focus of the outrage is a public figure, other times a private citizen whose actions have been captured and disseminated on social media and is in the crosshairs. In either case, the response can be similarly ferocious. And the cancel culture frequently makes no distinction. And the term is shambolically applied to incidents both online and off that range from vigilante justice to hostile debate to stalking, intimidation and harassment. The consequences of being cancelled include the loss of friends and social connections, that report said. You know what? That is the best thing that can happen to any individual. Away from the vacuous fake friends, because real friends stand by each other. The fastest way to find out who are your real friends is a dispute or an incident like this. I know personally, after all my friends disappeared, as one in Florida for the heinous crime of ending a failed marriage. But these people are as shallow as they come. Loyalty, honour and integrity do not exist in these people's field, and ultimately you are better off without shallow and vacuous people, and actually it's quite liberating. More labels, offended by everything culture, or because they feel it empowers them and elevates them because somebody else makes a mistake. Again, it's childlike. And the reality is social media has developed into a courtroom scenario where your every word, sentence or emotions is picked apart in a plethora of distortions. And in the court scenario, it is often used to deflect from the truth. Social media, along with mainstream media, has now turned everything into a snap judgment, judge and jury contest with no recourse for the victims they select for their targets of abuse or rejection. Again, it's childlike. We have one group of silly children who have spent 2.25 years making up lies, throwing abuse and attempting to discredit me. It failed. My stock went higher than those people will ever achieve. But what makes people go to those lengths of childlike stupidity? It's back to low self-worth, insecurity, and a comparative and competitive mindset again. People unable or too weak to look at their own stuff, and so decide to throw their own shadows onto other people, is essentially what's taken place. Now, I'm honoured one group decided to spend 2.25 years to focus solely on tiny me. But I'm also saddened at the darkness within them that makes them do such poor childlike behaviour in public for all to see. And this offended by everything has to stop. It's another version of political correctness. Cancel culture is the latest version. I get offended at people who get offended at offensive remarks that were not really that offensive, but people take offence, as they are offended by everything potentially offensive, which was not really offended anyone until they take offence at it. Indeed. Cancel culture, they say. Well, if that is the culture, perhaps we should cancel it. Here's the next children's news, done by adults. Apparently now in the other world, Disney have now deemed their own program, The Muppets, which is fitting for the Disney hierarchy, as they are Muppets, as racist. Stuffed puppets are racist. Oh dear. Childlike again. It's funny they didn't give a warning of the sexual references to an underage audience contained within their shows. In fact, several of their shows, I might add. And this stupidity has now reached levels of ridicule beyond basic comprehension. And for all that take part in it, weak people who are taught to be offended by everything are walking billboards for this level of infantile behaviour. So the Muppets are racist, they say. Let's get one thing right here in an adult thinking way. This is a racist planet that involves all cultures, colours and creeds, all of them. There's not one single group or race who are not in some way all aligned with each other. Not one. Even the racist chosen ones have several castes within their system of hierarchy of their own self-importance. The Native American tribes mixed with the Indians from India were slaughtering each other in brutal ways long before the boogeyman known as the whites came along. Blacks, whites, yellows, reds, browns and sub-grey are all racist to varying degrees. The question is, why? Why is all man terrified of meeting another group of beings, human or otherwise? It goes back in time with the Neanderthals, wiped out. Pygmies, wiped out. 90 million Russians, wiped out by the sub-grey race, and various other tribes wiped out. Because they are different. Even today's man is racist towards the Sasquatch. Stupid jackasses going out to try and shoot them. Does anyone ask the common sense question is, why do you want to shoot them to begin with? What have they done to you? Why does man of every culture have a fear and non-welcoming attitude to those that are different to them? What causes the instant fear, animosity and subsequent hostility? Why is meeting new peoples considered a defensive and attack stance mode? The answer can be simple or fairly logical from an overview look, but one that will create triggers within each of us, should you accept the fact to be true. Our division of the peoples is down to genetic DNA memory of wars of the past, sometimes long in the past. It's all in your DNA. The DNA is the memory bank, not the mind. And my belief for the division is we are all not the same species. Yes, we are all humanoid, but not from the same planet, or in most cases the same solar system. The genetics study proved that fact beyond all reasonable doubt. The common theory is we all came from the same seed, Adam and Eve. But if that was true, we would all have the same blood group and genetics, and the fact is, we don't. And what we are dealing with here is inherent genetic memory of fears, wars and traumas of the past, and has nothing to do with what is deemed today as racism. It's all in the DNA and the genetics. And the greatest proof of that is the Rh negative blood group, whereby a human mother has to take an injection not to reject her child. That is full evidence of genetic tampering by another species. That is not native to here. You want ET disclosure proof? There it is, right there. And the questions that remains for you all to ponder on now is racism inherent? And is racism a fancy pseudo word for geneticism?